I'm making a video on the old camera. Yeah, the old flip. For whatever reason. Ah, yes, the other one's attached to the computer. That's why, that's right. Got a video in the can. Yeah, waiting. Anyway, just thought I'd do an update video on YouTube, I suppose. So, yeah, just go over a couple of these videos and then what I'm going to talk about next, which is Pyro. Stupid fuck. Anyway, alright, so these were kind of good videos here. This fact is, it reduces to shit. It was a good video. I think it was response to Fred. This was the last one to the Modern Mystic, thinking you feel feelings. And it's just this argument about, you know, the feeling thing. And this is the important thing. And so Pyro's still talking about it in terms of will, as if that's the hard problem. And this is about that hard problem crap. Like, why are we conscious? Like, why didn't evolution just choose to make us mechanical like the other lower forms of life? The other forms of life, even, we could argue. We don't quite know what goes on in an insect's brain. I mean, it does look an awful lot like it's programmed. That programming doesn't change much, but insects can learn. And learning sort of requires some process in your brain that's going to reward you for getting answers right and punish you for getting answers wrong. And that's sort of the mechanism. So, again, how far back you have to go, and why didn't it just stay, though, like a computer? And so I'll try to answer that question. Alright, fact is, it reduces to shit. This is the Fred video, some more of that, this reducing shit. And just the fact that this is the context of our existence, and nobody wants to deal with the reality of existence, the stuff we already do know, the evolution thing, the fact that evolution doesn't impose any great standards, that the definition of the game is reproduce and do it successfully over the long term. That's the standard. Now, it has nothing to do with being good or graceful or great or beautiful by any kind of rational or logical standard, even productive or strong by a rational or logical standard. It's all about a circumstantial, stupid fight. Brass knuckles are okay, cheating's okay, lying's okay. That's why we're basically all, you know, we're all schemers. That's what we have here. Our brain is basically intended to be a scheming tool. And when you become civilized, you realize that logic is what has to be the scheme. The scheme has to be logical. It can't just be selfish, and because that's logical. You just realize when you get a little bit of intelligence, you start figuring out, I'm in it together. Me and the other pawns are all pawns, and we're in this together, kind of a thing. And then the logic has to extend to the interest of all pawns, not just yourself. And I mean, it just becomes, it's just so fucking, well, excuse my French, but it is obvious, and I pointed out in these reduction videos that you can say all of this in, you know, a half an hour conversation. You can pretty much explain life. Alright, conversation, it might take a little longer, but you can just kind of go through the highlights. The highlight film is pretty short. Alright, the internet making us dumb. That was a response to ContraPoint's Nicotine's video, and that was a response to Professor Anton just talking about, you know, communication in general. And it's not, you know, I didn't really get to all the communication parts of it, but it was mostly about this medium, the power of video, the power of the written word, the power of the spoken word. The fact that all this is recorded is kind of great technology. The fact that we can communicate with people all over the world instantaneously, or in exchanges like this, in dialogues that are staggered. Okay, I talk, you talk, I talk, you talk. And unfortunately, we're still doing it very badly. I mean, we have this great technology, and there aren't too many people I talk, you talking. It just ain't happening. Alright, the Fed, I did another response to him, so there's two of those. Well, it's one of them anyway. Partial one to the new video, but anyway, we'll get to that. Alright, then we get to this Glenn guy, and the conversation about antinatalism. And this is where it gets annoying, because people are making an argument like antinatalism is some sort of emotional response to life, and this is just such nonsense. It's such a cheat of the argument. So if you're going to say that you've looked at antinatalism and you're going to opine on the subject, then you should have the obligation to opine on the subject that people are talking about. And when they make a video overtly saying, argue this argument, then you should probably argue that argument. I mean, the challenge can't be thrown any firmer in your face. I can't slap you with the glove any, more overtly and say, come on, get your damn javelin thing and let's go, fucker. I mean, this is bullshit. But no, they still play the game. I'm going to talk about your subject in my way, and I'm going to pervert it and twist it into something that has absolutely nothing to do with the subject. And I think that's just, it's such a fucking weasel cop-out. So, I mean, I'll go back to calling you people rapists and molesters. I'll go back to using the most extreme rhetoric I can find to describe your fucking behavior on this fucking planet, you fucking useless pieces of shit, because you can't even defend your arguments with a fucking argument. You can't even defend your behavior with an argument when you're challenged to do it. And then you're going to say you're going to opine on a subject, and you're going to opine with your babble? You're going to take your dirty sock off and say, here's my argument? Well, fuck that. Anyway, in the comments, so I respond to some comments. Those are always kind of interesting videos. Housekeeping, whatnot. Sort of like this video, housekeeping, whatnot. I thought this was really a pretty funny video. So I did a response video to this comedian's video. And I think I was funnier than he was. Yeah, I think I was. That's actually on YouTube. So yeah, I don't really need to update you on that one, right? Yeah. Anyway, and then there's this interview with Zombie Picture Show, who, warbles on a lot, is basically called out as basically a big fat fibber. Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't gotten into too many exchanges with him because everything he says is so incomprehensible. Life is life. But yeah, he keeps talking like he's done all these things, and I'm just like, well, if this is what's running the military, no wonder it's fucking out of control. I'd even like to understand what the fuck somebody who goes, life is life, makes a 20-year career out of undoing that, killing things for rich people. What are you, you tell me you got 2 master's degrees and you're too stupid to figure out you're just a fucking mass murderer, mercenary for the fucking rich? Wow, you're pretty dim then. Or else you're just getting yours, right? You're just saying, I don't care as long as I get mine. I don't care who I have to kill. I don't care what kind of mayhem I create in the world. I don't care how many terrorists I create by engineering nice missiles for my military to use to burn people up. What the fuck is that? Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense to me. Fuck you. Anyway, yeah, I just don't know where, the anti-nihilists, man, I'm sort of shave some of these people off. It's just like, what the fuck? These people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Anyway, so where are we? Yeah, I guess that's it for my videos, right? I don't think I have to say anything more. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to respond to a Piro video, I think. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, Piro, talking about free will. And I might as well include the Glenn guy, because he's made a new video I'm posted on the website. I guess I should find that just to show you the website. See, there it is. I do have a code that you can punch in with your video. I'll post that in the description of this video. But I mean, it's a code you just put in with your video, and then you just change the... Well, I'm not going to explain it on a YouTube video, right? No, I'll explain it on a Vlogger Dome video. Problem is, I have to post the code in the description, I guess, because if I post it in here, it'll change the code. Yeah. Anyway, it'll recognize it and do something. But anyway, yeah, I can post responses now in the video. If you see my videos, you'll see the responses the embeds do show up. So that's a good feature. Anyway, so this guy, so he made it what he calls his final response. Fine, yeah, make it your final response. I don't care. I mean, I really don't care. I just don't. You didn't respond to the subject. You've insulted my intelligence. You've insulted everybody who believes in the subject by projecting your emotional crap on top of their logical arguments. I was talking about this before I even knew Benatar existed, and you're saying, well, this Benatar owns this concept. He owns this word. I mean, that's bullshit right there. So now I feel much better about my hostile videos in the past because this closing video was a fucking big giant pile of shit. I asked you to explain logically how you, when you have those moments in life, you described moments in life when you figure out that life is really ludicrous. And I asked you to explain how you logically escape those moments. All right, the conclusion of them, the reality of them. And you gave me not logic, you gave me how you irrationally project on top of it nonsense to make it okay. And your projection is basically the same old generic crap we've heard forever. Nature knows what it's doing. On balance, it's all okay. That was your crap. Your crap was, it's not that, it's not left, it's not right, it's somewhere in the middle. Well, isn't that convenient? It's always somewhere in the middle. That's always the excuse people give. So if we have a World War III and 2 billion people die, you'll just say again, well, that's just a baddie, and we'll put that in the baddie category, but when we add the bads and the goods, it's somewhere in the middle. It'll still be somewhere in the middle, right? There'll never be a number that's too high. I think I even brought up the analogy in that video, or one of the ones in the sequence, of how many lion cubs have to die. You'll just keep increasing the number. It's 9 out of 10 now. Before their first birthday, yeah, make it 19 out of 20. Make it 500 out of 501. It just doesn't fucking matter with you people. You just keep making excuses and say, well, I'm not experiencing the horror. I don't have the brain tumor, okay, and vomit isn't flying out of my nose, so everything's okay on planet Earth. I mean, it's just such a pile of shit. I mean, you don't live the crappy possum life. You don't live all this shit that goes on this planet, and so you just make excuses for it all from your nice, comfy fucking chair. And you call that a philosophy, and I call that a pile of shit. I say, I'm going to oblige you to make a rational argument, or I'm going to call you a shit-talking imbecile. I mean, fuck, you've been asked to make a rational argument for why life should be continued. Everything else in the goddamn world we can have a logical conversation about. Should we have nuclear power? Well, your argument's not going to be some kind of crap, about, whatever you call it. What was this fucking jargon you use? I forgot the goddamn jargon, damn it. Your sun god bullshit, or some other kind of, you're not going to sit there and start throwing bones on the floor and invoking Greek gods and playing all these other bullshit game to answer the fucking question. No, you're going to fucking rationally say, well, there's this, downside potential, and I already did this in the other video, this nuclear power plant analogy, so I won't use it again. But anyway, the point is you make a value equation. All right, and you start balancing interest, and you start figuring out whether there's a fail-safe or whether there's a downside risk on the two sides. I mean, are we going to miss an opportunity if we don't do it? Are we going to sentence ourselves to certain doom eventually if we do it? I mean, these are all things that can be discussed and be discussed rationally. You won't sit there and invoke emotions and a bunch of other crap as a fucking argument. And so life on this planet is nothing more, if you stand back, if you look at it from the moon. All right, it's a fucking biological experiment. I'm asking you to defend the experiment, to tell me why the experiment should continue. And if you're going to say it's a good experiment, then you said basically defending the idea that we should extend this experiment. Maybe we should take some life on Earth, and we should make it conform. We should create an artificial environment like Mars in a laboratory, and then bend life to find it possible to live in it. And then we can ship that off to Mars so we can start the game there. And maybe we can even do that on Venus. It seems kind of impossible that we're going to find a living thing that's going to be able to conform to, 500 degrees Fahrenheit, but whatever. Or 1,000, 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever the fuck it is. Boiling acid. I don't think we're going to find any living thing that's going to find that habitable. But whatever. What the fuck? It doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't do anything. It's replication for the sake of replication. Well, I'm not going to make the argument. I made the fucking argument in the video called "This is the fucking argument. Argue this argument, fucker." And you didn't do that. So whatever. Fuck you. Alright, now on to Pyro. Sorry, this video is going way longer than I intended. Yeah. But your video was just complete and utter crap. Just crap. Crap as a logical argument. Crap. I mean, It's like arguing vegetarianism. You don't sit there and invoke some sort of, well, we have an emotional response, and we're addicted to food, we're eating animals, and we can't change our behavior, and we can't. Yes, we can. It's so fucking easy. All right, you have a desire, you say the desire is stupid, I'm not going to act on the desire, I'll go do something the fuck else because it's wrong to do. We do it all the fucking time. It's something human beings do all the fucking time, so this is just this whole fucking bullshit. And again, I made the argument in at least two of the video responses to you. I've pointed out that most people aren't nadaling at a rate sufficient to maintain population. Population would actually decline on this planet if the behavior of most people was the behavior of all people. It's only a minority of assholes who are creating the overpopulation problem. All right? So it's the bottom 20%, the fucking knuckle dragon, monkey fucking brained ass wipes, all right, who can't control their idiotic behavior because they have no fucking goddamn brain, or their brain is full of God or Jesus or some other crap. And the simple truth is, if they understood they were fucking assholes, and if everybody wasn't praising them and rubbing their preggy bellies for luck, maybe they wouldn't fucking goddamn do it. And that's a simple truth. If the social norms changed and every fucking pregnant woman was, threatened with getting whacked with a fucking tomato now and then, maybe they wouldn't fucking goddamn do it. If the fucking culture didn't celebrate it and say congratulations and instead said, what the fuck, bitch? Yeah, their behavior would fucking change. Miraculously. All of a sudden, their desires in life would change. Fucking idiot. Alright, enough of this. Fuck this. Fuck these fucking people. You don't know what logic is? You heard of the word, right? That means you have to have factual premises. Alright? And then you build with those factual premises. You have to actually build out of solid factual blocks. Not fucking bullshit words you pulled out of your own fucking ass. Enough of this guy. Piro. Alright. So now the hard problem. What's the title of one of his videos? So anyway, he's obsessed about this will thing. Will is just a phenomenon of, it's almost like the signature on the paper. It just means nothing. Will is a byproduct. The sense or feeling of will is a byproduct. Every time you have cognitive dissonance, you will have a sense of will where you make a choice. I mean, every time you make a choice, it's basically cognitive dissonance. It means that something has arisen in your brain, some bit of programming, something's been recognized, a pattern has been recognized, and your brain is saying, wait a minute, I have some other information about that activity. All right, it's like I hand you a blueberry, and the blueberry has white little stuff on it, some little crud. All right, your brain says, blueberry, good, eat. But your pattern recognizing brain says, wait, what is the white crud on the blueberry? All right, and so it analyzes its records and it says, oh, birds sometimes shit on blueberries. Maybe it's a fucking bird shit on the blueberry. And so now you have dissonance. Now you have a choice to make about what you're going to will, whether your will is going to be take the blueberry and eat it, or say, no, thank you, you can have that one yourself. All right, those are your choices. And when you make your choice, you're going to say, that was my will. And so if you see that the guy is covered with powdered sugar, and you say, oh, wait a minute, it's there, I recognize powdered sugar. He's just covered with powdered sugar. He's putting powdered sugar on his blueberries, and there's powdered sugar on the blueberry, so it's not bird shit, so I'll eat the blueberry. Or, conversely, you just say, yeah, it's fucking bird shit, I ain't going to eat it, and that's going to be your will. And you're always going to, every single time, there's a circumstance in your brain where there's a moment of pause, where your brain, basically one program's running, these programs are running. Your program says, it's automatic. I do it automatically, there's so many things you just do regularly. And until your brain sees something different. Like all of a sudden the floor is gone. It's like you go into the other room and all of a sudden the floor is gone and there's a 100-foot hole where your floor used to be. Okay? Your brain recognizes hole in floor is not the same as regular living room floor, and I'm going to stop walking and I'm going to think about what I'm going to do next. All right, and that dissonance is what creates your will, and that your will every single time you say I willed something or I made myself do it. No, it's just programs. And one of the programs you have running, if you've been educated or informed about human psychology, you might have a program that actually sits in there knowing that you're a programmed machine, knows that you're manipulatable, and that all I have to do is, boost you in a certain direction. So it's a boost program now, and it just says, well, you've been here before, you've done this before, you need to exercise, so go exercise, I'll give you a treat later. You play games with your own brain, you bribe your own brain. You basically say, I'll give you an extra dessert if you do it. I mean, we play that game, and we have programs that play the game, and we can say, I willed myself to do it, but no, what you did was convince yourself to do it, and you didn't convince yourself to do it. A program inside your head that basically tells you this little conscious thing, some little guy on your shoulder, and this is the program that you've acquired through maturation, through maturity as a human being. You've acquired these little tricks to run your psychology because you want to be a good person, and you know how to be you know what good person basically looks like, and you say, this is what I'm going to try for, this is the scheme I have to get there. And part of the scheme is that I'm going to run this program inside my head as often as possible that's going to try to motivate me to do the right thing. And Piero's going to call that will, and it's nothing. It's just the signature put on the final result of the programming you've acquired. And if you're not maturated, if you're not educated, you're not going to be a Piero, and you're not going to have will, and you're not going to have any of this bullshit you think you have. I mean, it's just all a pile of shit. This is just your knowledge base talking to you. All right? It's just pieces of programming. All right, so anyway, the hard problem, consciousness, is the feeling part. That's the part you can't synthesize. That's the part you can't make a software program, all right, to make a feeling. That's the tricky one. So you have to synthesize it in some way, because we don't know how to make a computer feel. We don't know how to make it say, ouch. Okay, I don't like that. And so we can't have programs that access its ouch button. So we have to do it some synthetic way, but that's basically the nature of the game. To understand it is it's not that complicated. So let's say you start with an ouch. That's this decidedly negative thing. Well, if you put something in a half negative state, not ouch all the way, just halfway, now you have control over something. Because now you've put it in, let's say, an uncomfortable state. Okay, a state of angst and things aren't quite right, and then you give it experience that tells it that if it goes over there towards the light, this little needle that's in the middle now will go further down. You'll lose 25% of your ouch, okay, if you go into the light. And that sensation, that relief of the ouch, of the negative, is what propels you. That's desire. That's addiction. That's what moves us through life. Is that we get less of that. And on the converse, we learn that certain things, certain events, certain happenings, going towards the dark, will cause us more pain. The needle will go from 50 to 75, and we'll become more uncomfortable, more angsty, and more irritable, and more deprived and deprivated, and even just seriously discomforted, freezing cold. We'll be given some sensations that are negative, and that's how we're manipulated. It's because its steady state is an incomplete. It's a state that is not satisfaction. It's a state that is a deprivation. It is a negative. It's just not a hard negative. It might even be one that's oscillating at 60 hertz a second. So it gives you a little punch of the whole thing, but it's only giving it to you, one little blip every 60 little blips a second. So anyway, what's the point? And so all of our other emotions are sort of made out of that. Anger, you can sort of see what happens to you when you start getting angry. It creates this frustration, this angst, you become more and more, it's all unacceptable. There's a tension, a huge amount of tension that's built up into you, because it's trying to provoke an action. It's giving you the strength for an action. and then you can like it. But this is all will is. Will is just another one of these contrived emotional type, or our ego anyway. Not even will, but just that ego sense of self-importance, like I did it, and that little bit of gratification you get out of that. That's this whole ego mechanism of reward and punishment. So you're given a reward when your programming does something that your programming finds good, when it meets your standards. When you do something that meets your standards of good, you'll give yourself a little, gold star and say, good job, self. Good job, program. And that program will get rewarded. And so it'll become more powerful through those rewards. And basically the programs inside your head are being attributed, these little gold stars and little black stars, or however you want to metaphor it, or the stars are being peeled off when the program fails. Yeah, so there's no point in beating it to death. So yeah, we could synthesize, maybe, but it's always going to be awful hard for us to write programming or write software to a mechanism that we can't get inside of it. We can't get underneath it, behind the camera in a way, and know what it's doing. And so that's the difficult part. Our brain was built one tiny little piece at a time. The pieces were stuck on one, and we're trying to cheat that. We're trying to make the whole thing in one big blob, and that's a lot harder to do. And so we might not ever be able to synthesize purely artificial intelligence like our own until we can get past that barrier of having a synthetic feel mechanism, a negative mechanism. How else to explain this? Yeah, that's probably enough. But people keep talking. There's one guy made comments about, called it positive, and it's not positive because you use batteries as an example, and that's not how batteries work. It's this idea. It's the negative potential. That's the thing that's pulling. It's saying, "Give me." It's like the gravity. It's the pulling force. It isn't a pushing force. It's the negative that it starts it all. Yeah, so that's enough. I mean, this video is much longer than I thought. Yeah, I didn't intend to go 27 minutes. Sorry about that. So anyway, Papiro's just full of shit. He keeps wanting to try to drag quantum mechanics into this. There's no need for it. Everything we have can be explained without it. The only thing we can't explain, all the programming part, the idea of the psychology part, all of that can be explained. That's not a hard problem. It can be understood as programming. What we are going to have a problem with is the feeling part of it, the part that gives it sensation, qualitative sensation, like this feels good or this feels bad. That's the part that's tricky. That's the part that's complicated. That's the part that's a little bit beyond our grasp, even as a concept. It's hard to even get our brain around a concept of how you would even mix matter together to create something that said ouch, something that felt an ouch. Feeling, something that feels. It's just a hard arrangement of matter for us to imagine creating. So where else to go? Yeah, so that's it. But you're not gonna create it in this thing here. This computer crap, motherboardy thingy ain't gonna do it. I don't think you're gonna get there from there. Because we can see that the arrangement that we have is so subtle, so vulnerable, it can be turned off this quickly. So it's not just some sort of static, whatever, silicone. It's obviously got to be active. Something's got to be running, and it's got to have a thing to run through. And there's certain mechanisms inside our brain that have to be there. And so maybe it'd be possible to create a kernel of consciousness, take the core of our brain, the reptilian part of our brain, put it inside of a silicone programming, where its senses were all computerized, and where its memory and other things could be, it could access a CPU, synthetic memory storage, and synthetic other attributes of the neural net, and it probably could function that way. But again, I'm not arguing it can't be synthesized. I'm just saying that's the key function to synthesize. The rest of it are just running individual programs that, like with the genome, it's the little particular hunks of gene that are competing with each other. It's little lengths of code themselves that are competing with each other for position on a DNA molecule. That's what evolution is. And in the same sense, that's what how our brain is functioning. Is not it's not let's see, how do I want to metaphor that? All right, I've lost the connection. It's a busy signal or whatever. Beep beep beep. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to clear that up. Shit. Well, anyway, it's feelings are the hard problem. Thoughts aren't the hard problem. A concept like will isn't the hard problem. Feelings are the hard problem.